Jessica Tan.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to participate in the budget debate. We are still dealing with the pandemic, and it has been challenging for businesses and individuals. We need to continue to support those still impacted, but we must position Singapore for the future, and we must grow our economy to provide opportunities and quality of life for Singaporeans. Beyond growth, we must also ensure that Singaporeans and Singapore have the capability to seize these opportunities. I will focus on three topics in my speech today. 1, investing in the growth for the future. 2, strengthening our social compact. 3, inclusion and ensuring that no one is left behind. Investing for growth and the future. In the budget debate last year, I spoke about the need for Singapore to grow and to step up the momentum for businesses and individuals to build capability to seize opportunities when the economy opens up. 1 year on, this call is more urgent. While COVID is still with us, Singapore continues to attract investments in electronics, biomedical manufacturing, as well as new investments across sectors such as agri-food, chemicals, and materials. These create new jobs and opportunities. Many of these new jobs are PMET jobs and require relevant skills and competencies. But to be able to seize these opportunities, our businesses and workforce must have the relevant capabilities. So now let me touch on building capabilities. The pace of digitalization has accelerated as businesses were propelled to go digital to adapt in order to be able to operate in the pandemic. Many are still in the midst of their digital transformation. Now, with climate change, high global energy prices, and the Ukraine situation, there is a pressing need for businesses to become more sustainable. We have seen that companies that had invested in digital were better able to pivot and do business in the pandemic. For companies to be greener, it will require not only funding, but more importantly, know-how, rethinking of how work is done, and how goods are produced and services delivered. Processes, and more importantly, behaviors need to change. We don't want to have to wait for another crisis for our businesses to become more sustainable. Digital can also help with more sustainable business practices. The two are not mutually exclusive. The ambition, as outlined in the budget, is to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. How can we ensure that we don't leave small businesses behind? With the new carbon tax, if businesses do not transition and invest in clean technologies, they will definitely find it hard to survive. Businesses tend to see sustainability as the need for compliance and cost. What can be done to help businesses understand the benefits, competitive advantage, and growth opportunities? In the joint study that was done by EDB and Enterprise Singapore, it outlined the role that Singapore can play to become a key carbon service hub. Carbon services can generate new businesses and jobs in Singapore. The estimates are that economic opportunities from carbon services could create a projected gross value added of between US 1.8 billion to US 5.6 billion in Singapore by 2050. So what can we do to help our businesses build the capabilities to participate in these opportunities and, more importantly, to thrive? Let me now touch on a more immediate challenge that businesses across many sectors are facing, and that is getting the manpower to meet their business demands. The feedback from companies across industries is the difficulty to meet their manpower needs. These range from tech talent to roles across different segments. This is impacting their ability to operate effectively. The impact of the pandemic on manpower and the level of Omicron infections have made the situation even more pressing. As business picks up, the situation will not allow our businesses to address demand and will impact their ability to grow. What targeted support can be given to allow viable businesses to address these current manpower constraints to transform and, more importantly, to grow. Minister Wong, in his budget statement, stressed the need to, I quote, redouble our efforts to invest in new capabilities, unquote. Technology and digitalization have picked up pace across all sectors in Singapore. Workers, even in non-tech jobs, need to understand and know how to use technology in order to do their work. This is not just about how to use the latest technologies and devices, as they will continually change. While there will be an additional 200 million to fund and enhance schemes to build digital capabilities in our businesses and workers, I think we also need to look at what support will be given to companies to help workers, especially those in the workforce, gain the knowledge and skills they need in this new world of work. These skills are not about having deep technology skills in artificial intelligence or data analytics or any future technologies, but rather how to work with these new and ever-changing technologies to be able to do their work and thrive. With a greater reliance on digital, the security and resilience of our digital infrastructures are crucial. We need to continually invest and strengthen our digital infrastructures. Ministers shared that broadband access speeds will be increased and investments made in future technologies. Can Minister Wong also share what investments will be made to strengthen the reliability and the security of our digital infrastructures? Now let me move on to the point about strengthening our social compact. I thank Minister for a budget that has heard the challenges and recognized the current cost and inflationary pressures that Singaporeans are facing, and for delaying the start of the GST increase to 2030 with a two-step implementation. I would like to make a few points about the assurance package. While the support in the assurance package should and does provide more for the lower income, the assurance package does also signal the government's intent to also cushion the impact of the GST increase to include more middle-income households. This is demonstrated in the components of the assurance package of cash payout, additional GST U-Save vouchers, GST cash vouchers for seniors, in the senior bonus, MediSave top-ups, and the CTC vouchers to address essential expenditures of families in areas of utilities, groceries, education, and health. A subtle but important point to note is that the cash payout eligibility is on assessable income and property ownership rather than the annual value of residence. Annual value, or AV, of the property is used as the main criterion for means testing and eligibility for many support schemes. While I do not disagree that the value of property reflects one's means, it does not always mean that all who live in these properties have the means or have more. A point that I raised previously is the application of the AV criterion for those that live with their extended families in properties with annual value above 21,000. These persons could be elderly parents or siblings who live with relatives as they need care or cannot afford housing. In some of these cases, they do not even have means, but because of their residential address, they do not qualify for any support. An example is the COVID support grant. Those who have lost their jobs and meet the CSG or COVID support grant eligibility criteria, but live in a home of AV above 21,000, regardless of ownership, are not eligible for the COVID support grant. With the trend of smaller families, people marrying later, we do have more couples who have to provide for both their young children and senior parents or relatives. Some call this the sandwich generation. I do have such families in my constituency who live in private properties with annual value between 21,000 to 30,000. In the spirit of renewing and strengthening the social compact, Minister Wong had said, and I quote, "We want every Singaporean to know and feel that he or she has a stake in our society and they will not be left to fend for themselves when times are down," unquote. I would like to ask if there can be a refinement of the use of the AV criterion for eligibility of support schemes. I'm not asking for the AV to be removed, but rather that it be refined to apply to home ownership rather than residence for extended family members or higher AV for the sandwich generation. I must make a point here. As we look at the government to continue to provide and support Singaporeans when they need it, as part of the social compact, we too need to do our part and balance that with what each of us can do. So as we talk about cost pressures, and one of the biggest cost pressures that's now facing us is fuel costs. As a taker, I do also say that individuals and businesses, apart from asking for support, and I will continue to ask for support for businesses and individuals, we all need to do our part to also find ways to conserve, to be greener, so that we then, otherwise it's just addressing costs, but not finding better ways to do things. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. And I'm not talking about green. I'm talking about being able to fund this. Now let me move to my last point about inclusion and ensuring that no one is left behind. Mr. Speaker, Singapore has a rapidly aging population. The employment landscape of our workforce has changed. Those above 55 years of age make up 25.7% of the workforce in 2020. As part of the PAP.SG efforts to better understand senior employability, in the last quarter of 2021, we conducted an online survey with seniors aged 50 years and older. 934 responded to the survey, and 98% of these respondents are Singaporeans. 60% are currently working, and almost 60% of them have post-secondary education. We have a balance of male and female respondents. The respondents are from a variety of industries working in a diverse range of occupations. 98% like the work they are doing, citing meaningful work and having relevant experience. 60% of respondents who are facing challenges at work, with about 1/5 of them citing challenges like needing to learn new skills, dealing with changes and new norms. Amidst the challenge of learning new things, the most commonly cited skills gap is learning new digital skills. With digitalization and the drive for sustainability, can we rethink how we prepare and enable matured and senior workers who want and can work to actively participate in quality jobs in the growth sector in the post-COVID economy? I welcome the enhanced announcement in Budget 2022 for the workfare income supplement. The rise of qualifying income gap from 2,300 to 2,500 and the extension to younger workers aged 30 to 34 will definitely benefit workers, and the increased payout for each tier will provide more support for lower wage workers. I do, however, want to appeal to Minister Wong to reconsider the introduction of the minimum income criteria of $500 per month. This will impact older low-wage workers or those who are caregivers and need the flexibility of part-time work. For this group of workers, while they can and do want to work, part-time work may be more suitable for them. Let me give the example of one of my residents, Madam Lee. This is not her real name. She is 69 years of age and works as a relief program coordinator at an elder care center. She covers the duties of staff who are on leave or medical leave. Her estimated monthly income ranges from $200 to a little over $500 a month. She's currently eligible for WIS and is appreciative of the support. However, with the minimum income criterion, Madam Lee is concerned as she will not be eligible for WIS. Will Minister consider a review of the minimum income criterion for WIS, as it will impact those that the scheme is intended to support? Mr. Speaker, I started my speech touching on the importance of economic growth. Economic success is necessary, but on its own, not sufficient for Singaporeans to make Singapore home. If we focus only on economic growth, our people will just leave Singapore and go where the economic opportunities present themselves. Budget 2022 sets out to charting our way forward. And I thank Minister Wong for a budget that aims to realizing our vision of a fairer, more sustainable, and more inclusive society, to see us through the pandemic today, and more importantly, to build a better Singapore for tomorrow. I support the budget. Thank you.